down the aisle, and so I said, "Who gives this bride to be taken?" And Greg goes, "I do." And I said, "You may be seated." And he walks back and he stands there, and he stands there, and everybody stood up through the whole wedding ceremony. I thought people were going to start passing away, you know. And so at the end, I'm glad it wasn't a 20-minute service, but at the end, everybody was making remarks about not sitting down. I'm thinking, well, I told Greg to sit down, but now I got to be really clear when I got her sister's wedding to do in September. So I told her one of the first things I'm going to do is remember to tell people to sit down. So that's why when you hear me say that, now I'm practicing. What did we lose? We lost the show? What happened to my projector person? There's a lot, flowers and everything. So today we're going to open up today, and Brandy is here, and Brandy and I had discussions a couple months ago, was it? Or not that long ago. And it was just a great time, and she's brought two of her heartfelt people here with her today, and so I know that she wants to introduce them and the church. Give a big prayer when we're done with this, that we look at this. But I want to let Brandy take some of this, and I'll stand up here with you, and maybe I'll ask you some questions or something if there's any further. Just give you some support up here, okay? All right, well, come on up and explain to everyone. You have to stand right here in front of the computer like I do. Okay. Good? Okay.
So I kind of wrote down a lot of my notes because I tend to babble and over explain things. So
I don't know. Because of the it doesn't pick up the mic.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Brandy Sargent. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of nervous. It's kind of hard to explain your life story to people that you don't know very well. I'm still learning, all your guys' names, so. Okay. So before I was born, I had two older brothers, Corey and Alex, who were like me, born with a rare genetic skin disease called RDEB. I will explain what that is in a minute. When my oldest brother, Corey, was 14 months old and Alex was only 5 months, they were living in a car with our biological parents because they were drug addicts and alcoholics. Our birth mother did unsolicited drugs and drank throughout Alex and my pregnancy, so we have fetal alcohol syndrome. Let's see here. It affected the part of my brain that deals with emotions. So I had a lot of behavioral issues when I was growing up. I was very emotional. I'm still very emotional. So that just made it a little tough for me, but I'm good. So not long before I was born, my brothers were placed into foster care. So when I was born, like my brothers, we were diagnosed with recessive dystrophic epidermolysis bullosa. Try saying that 3 times fast. So everyone has a protein in their bodies called collagen 7, which plays an essential role in strengthening and stabilizing the skin. In RDEB, it's either mutated or missing. With very little pressure or friction, my skin will blister, tear, or sometimes fall off. I have wounds from literally head to toe that are characterized as third-degree burns. Sorry, losing my place here. There are many places on my body where the skin will break down and then heal, only to break down almost immediately. My chronic areas that break down repeatedly are my hands, feet, elbows, knees, shoulders, scalp, all the places that have constant friction or pressure. It even affects my insides, like my mouth, throat, ears, even my eyes. There are times I can only hear in one ear until that sore heals. There are times I can't see because it's too painful to open my eyes because I get corneal abrasions. I get blisters in my mouth and throat. There are times I can't swallow because I get strictures in my throat from the wear and tear of eating. The doctors tell me not to eat chips, but I want to live. You know, chips are like crack for me. So I will eat chips on some days, and then the next day I may not be able to eat, but it was worth it. So, the skin on my hands and toes have fused together and are now what we call webbed. I have one finger on my left hand and a thumb on my right. Let's see here. I can't fully dress myself without help. I can't put my own deodorant on. There is much I can't do for myself, and it just makes me feel so defeated. It's not a good feeling when there's so much that you cannot do for yourself. Most daily tasks can cause pain and injuries, such as brushing my hair, brushing my teeth, eating, standing, sitting, sleeping, and numerous other things. But thankfully, my parents, friends, and family have taught me to adapt in ways to be able to do certain things for myself, just in a different way than others do. I'm still waiting for my medical insurance to grab me a cloud out of the sky. That'd be nice. My skin may be fragile, but my ability to live and enjoy life is not. I went sledding last week with the Hayward clan. Boy, was that fun. I might have walked away with a few bruises, but I was lucky to not gain any new blisters or scrapes. I still chose to hike up that snow-covered hill and slide down on a hard plastic sled, even with the knowledge of potential injuring myself, because I want to live. I choose to have a dog who causes me countless scrapes just in a week because I love animals and because I want to live. So moving on. When I was born, I was put into foster care with my brothers. I joined them with our foster parents being who we called Mama Sherry and our foster dad who we called Poppy. So when I was 6 years old, my foster mom, Mama Sherry, died from a pulmonary embolism. We were all at the dinner table waiting for her to join us. She never made it past the living room. Our foster dad and his biological daughter sat my brothers and I down a few hours later. They had to tell a 6, 7, and 8-year-old that their mother died in the ambulance before it even arrived at the hospital. Everyone cried but me because I didn't know what died meant. Time went by and I asked Poppy, when is Mama coming home? And I remember him stopping what he was doing and looking at me and saying that she's not coming home. And that's when I got it. I understood. When I was 7, Mama Sherry and Poppy's biological daughter, who was at the time our foster sister, because we were being fostered, adopted my brothers and I at the Jelly Belly factory. She did the best that she was able to do, my first adopted mother. She loved me, she loved my brothers, and she did the best that she could. Living with my adopted mother was challenging for me. She only planned on adopting my brothers, not me. As years went by, it got worse. There were times she didn't take my pain seriously because my ED was significantly less than what my brother's cases were. I was very strong-willed and stubborn. I wanted to do things my way, not her way. So it made us kind of clash a lot because she was very, very specific in what she wanted, and she wanted it that way. And me being an emotional kid didn't mix very well. So she did not handle situations properly for a kid. Anyway, she made, at times I felt like I was unimportant, that she only saw my faults. She never saw when I was actually trying to behave. She did love me, but at times I felt she hated me. I kind of lacked and earned. I craved that mother-daughter bond that I didn't really get properly. She didn't treat me bad on purpose. It wasn't like she's not a terrible person, you know? She had 3 medically fragile children. She took care of our needs perfectly. We got our doctors, medicines, bandages, everything that we needed, she got for us, and she fought hard for it. And she did love us. You know? It's just the way it was. So in 3rd grade, I was about 8, my brothers and I attended the same school. Because we were medically fragile, we were placed in special ed. Alex and I were appointed an aide named Eileen. And Corey was appointed a man-child named Elena. Right there. You're a man-child, come on. You have not changed in almost 20 years. And I am so grateful to God that you haven't. Corey and Delano, they had quite a strong bond. I mean, they acted like best friends. You know, they played around and goofed around with each other. Delano was his favorite person. Anyway. Sorry, hold on. Then when I got to middle school in 6th grade, for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, Delano was our aide in the special ed class that we shared for those 3 years. So he kind of helped raise us in a way because he was in my life 5 days in a week, you know. And Eileen, she ended up becoming an in-home health aide for my brothers and I. So she too helped raise us because she was in our home almost every day helping. So they helped raise me. When I got to middle school, that was about the time when Corey stopped going to school because it was just too painful. In 6th grade, I met a dork. Her name is Lacey. She's right there. She was eating alone, and so I invited her to come eat with me. That's how I met you. Really? Oh, well, it must not have been special for you. Her and I didn't start getting close until after I moved to Hawaii when I was 20 with my parents. Anyway, so she is a very important part of my life, as well as Delano and Eileen. When I was 10 in 5th grade, I met this woman who was a counselor for the special ed class I was in, and her name is Jerry. And she was my therapist up until I was 19 years old. And she knew all my crap. She knew past all of my lies, all of my fibs. She knew me well enough that she could get in there and work on the stuff that needed to be worked on. She gave me the first Bible that I ever saw as the Bible and not just a story. So when I was 12 years old, when I was 10 years old, Corey declared that he didn't want any more doctors, no more nurses, no more needles. So my brother, my adopted mother, and I watched him slowly die for 2 years. It became where he was wheelchair bound, and then he couldn't get in his wheelchair anymore. So he went to his lazy bed, or his lazy boy chair. And then it was too painful to get out of bed. Eileen and Delano, me, my brother Alex, and my adopted mother, we were all by Corey's bedside when his heart stopped, and he was 14 years old. His EB is probably the worst case I've ever seen, and I've got a few friends with some pretty severe EB. He was missing probably about 85% of his skin. His whole back was just raw, no skin. But he had the goofiest personality. He would make the stupidest jokes. He'd have like chocolate pudding and a corn chip. He'd dip it in the chocolate, look, chocolate chip. That was him. Or he'd say, it's on the tip of my tongue. And he'd wait a second and then go, I swallowed it. So he had the greatest personality. He was a goofy kid. Almost exactly a year later after Corey had passed away, I was 13 years old, and I was put into Child Protective Services. Because I was 13, I was given the choice to stay with my adopted mother or not. And I chose not to because I knew if I stayed, I would either be killed or kill myself. Because at 10 years old, I was about 52 pounds. I would not eat. I didn't know why I wouldn't eat, and I couldn't physically and I couldn't mentally. And it was a cry for help, and I didn't know that until I got older and looked back. So, besides that, I was then placed in the home of Pam and Rick Sargent. So Pam was my brother and I's in-home nurse when I was about 8 to 9 years old. And she was our favorite nurse out of about 30 that we went through. I had nowhere to go, and she knew my care. She had done our bandages before, but I was 13, so it had been 4 years since I had seen her, so she was a stranger to me again. They kind of re-taught me, the rights and the wrongs, and they're the ones who taught me about this man who lived 2,000 years ago. They're the ones who introduced me to who he was, because growing up, it was not a religious, it was not a Christian household. the topic of God was not nice. It was not good. My brother Alex chose to stay with Lana after, we were put into CPS. And that was fine because she treated him just fine, you know. But Alex resented me for breaking up a family. So I have not seen him since I was a freshman, and I'm 26 years old. And getting a little ahead of myself here. Actually, no, I'm not. Okay. When he was 19 years old, he had open heart surgery and was given, it bought him about 2 years. Gave him an extra 2 years. 2 years later, he died from heart failure. And I never got to have closure with him or to talk to him, and kind of work things out. And I didn't even go to his memorial open house thing because I knew if I went, it would be too emotionally catastrophic for my adopted mother and me. So in a way, I was really mad at him for a long time because he didn't give me that closure. So I went to live with Pam and Rick, and that was hard. I was going through PTSD. I was going through depression. I was going through anxiety. I was going through behavioral issues. It was like I was a little kid again. They kind of had to re-raise me, So they taught me about this man who lived a couple thousand years ago. They told me how he died in excruciating agony to save my soul. All because he loved me. Now, when I first heard that, I thought they were crazy. How could some stranger give his life for me? I'm not special. I'm just Brandy. When I was a kid, society taught me that is crazy. I never really took it seriously until I was about 16. My dear friend Jerry gave me the very first Bible that I saw as a Bible and not just a book, like I said. He gave it to me at the time in my life I wanted to understand its truth. That's when I started to have more questions, but I was a lazy believer. I believed, but I didn't really take time to learn more. For a while, I didn't really have my own faith. I was living off of my parents' faith. When I was 23, so almost 3 years ago, I moved in with that turd right there. I moved to Hawaii when I was about 20 because my parents have a daughter, my sister Jennifer, and she was in Hawaii because she married a Hawaiian boy, and she had 2 kids, and grandma wanted to be with the grandkids, so we moved there. Backtrack, I forgot. At 13, I lived with Pam and Rick. At 15, they adopted me. So I took their name Sargent. So I'm extremely grateful for what they have done. And they have sacrificed so much for me. I never really appreciated or got it until I moved in with her, where I was away from my parents. I could see more. When you're up close, it's hard to see things. When you take a step back, it's almost life-changing. Anyway, when I was 23, I moved in with Lacey and Wendy because at home was not good. It was not a good environment. We were constantly fighting. My mother, she was my caregiver for 13 years and she was burnt out, beyond burnt out. So we were constantly fighting. And I was to the point where I remember video chatting with Lacey, and I was on the floor of my closet and I couldn't breathe because I was crying so hard. And I told her, "You are the reason I am not killing myself right now." So she has done so much for me. You know, you may not realize it, but you really have. She's kind of like my sister. So, so I moved in with them, and it was kind of difficult for them to be living with me because because when I was freshman year, when I was about 14, I had hand surgery, and they gave me oxycodone for the pain, and I got stuck on that. And when I got here, it just wasn't working anymore, so my doctor switched me to morphine. And my body kept telling me I needed more. I need more, I need more. I'm in pain, I need more. So a friend of mine helped me wean off of it slowly and safely. And my personality started coming back. I'm my goofy self now. I've got my lame jokes coming out. I don't care if I look ridiculous with makeup all over my face. I could think rationally, or I mean, that's debatable, but being on a narcotic, I couldn't remember things I said 5 minutes ago. I was completely irritable constantly. I was emotional. I'd be on the floor crying, and I didn't know why. It was not good. I was not aware of things I should have been aware about. So when I got off of it, my friend gave me back my life by helping me get off. And so now I'm on a good pain regimen that is not a narcotic, and it works. Now I do, yeah. So, God put certain people in my life that I didn't recognize until I started learning more about Jesus. You know, my foster mom was Episcopalian, so we went to church when I was very little. I met Jerry when I was 10, and she is an extremely strong, inspiring Christian. I was placed into a home that was a better environment for me. I got out of that bad environment and put into a new environment that taught me about Jesus. And he has worked in my life in many other ways that I don't recognize yet. You know, I think all of us can kind of concur to that. Forgiveness. Forgiveness can set you free. For years, I've held resentment and hate for my first adopted mother. It was an anchor shackled to my ankle. And I carried that for years, and God gave me that key to remove it. Not just from my ankle, but from my heart as well. I forgive her for what she did to me. And that is such a freeing feeling. It feels so good. Like, I mean, I have so much weight taken off of my shoulders. I forgive my brother Alex for not letting me have closure with him, because he's Alex, and God taught me about forgiveness. So with my faith, if I were to die today, I'm at peace with whose arms will embrace my soul. That will be quite a handful. Do you think God would laugh at my jokes?
He's willing to, yeah.
So Isaiah 43:1, don't fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. Can you imagine God saying your specific name? That gives me the goosebumps. I mean, there was a time I felt so unimportant. So I was like, why? Why would he care about me? You know, why am I so special? He taught me that I'm valued. He taught me that I do matter. Jesus is mine and I am his. He loves me and I love him. He taught me that it's okay to have fear, but to not let that fear consume you to where you cannot live your life. For years, my fear of people leaving me was at times unbearable. I was very insecure. You know, Mama Sherry died. She was no longer in my life. Corey and Alex died. They were no longer in my life. I have numerous friends who have my skin disorder who have passed away and are no longer in my life. But death is just temporary, you know. It hurts when your loved ones die, but it hurts just a little bit less knowing that you could have eternal peace with them. No pain, no suffering, a perfect body, you know. I can't wait till I get my perfect body. I won't have wounds. I won't have hair falling out. I won't have any of my issues, you know. And it's such a cool thought to think that everybody else is that same way, you know, if they choose Jesus. Um, my body is temporary. This is just a vessel, you know. This is not mine. That's not my true self. It's just one of the crosses that I have to bear. And God would not have given it to me if I could not deal with it, you know? And my home is temporary. My home is up there, you know? It's hard to not be sentimental about things because we're human. But Wendy made a comment one day that this ain't my home. You know, I'm waiting to go home. And that just kind of like clicked in my brain. And I was like, wow. It's like, I got that. And that is such a cool, cool thing to think about. He taught me that I'm enough, that I am valued, that I am a human being who has the choice to live a meaningful life. And I love to inspire people. This is not a story of pity. This is a story of how I overcame these issues only so that I could appreciate everything else. That is why I went through those hardships, because now I appreciate everything else. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's kind of my life. So I'm really, really happy. I feel at peace. I'm secure because I love Jesus and he loves me. And I know he loves every single one of you. Bueno was kind of like a friend. He's very good at getting down at kids' levels and understanding them, you know. And he still works with special ed, and he just loves the kids. And so he is one of my best friends. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, when I'm around him, I become a child again. And Jerry here, because she was a very strong Christian, she influenced me in the way that I needed to be. She would talk to me about the Bible and about Jesus, you know. She's a very dear friend of mine because she helped lead me to Jesus. You know, she put me on that path quite a few times because, you know, I steered off a few times. She corrected me a few times, just like my mom and dad did.
Amazing thing to see a heart that learned about build onto the sun. And then learn to walk in support way those who are around her here to support you to participate in the work. I thought it was an example that so many of us who see and hear about that we can come with you to be able to come up and Father, it's a blessing to come here today and see the congregation now and and so I just praise you for what you've done, Sister Roxanne, and give you and Father, and for blessings that we can see in Jesus.
Thank you. The first one.
Yeah, but you got to do more now. Now you got to hit the circuit. Well, it is hard a lot of times when we look at things a lot of times from a view from the end of things and not the newness of what lays ahead. And we allow those burdens to bring us down. And losing people that we know in life, especially brothers at an early age like that, has to be devastating. And it's unimaginable for a lot of us here to walk in the shoes that she's been walking on and the courage that she's had. So I just admire that. When we sat and she told me about this story, I just thought, you have the ability to reach people that some of us will never be able to reach. And so you need to share that. And I think that's extremely important. And I thank the two of you for supporting her and coming here today and to give her courage to be who she is. So we thank you that very much. So, we know that the end's going to come for all of us someday. We don't know how it's going to come. What's the transition in that place going to be like? Am I going to, be one that everybody has to take care of, or am I going to be one that goes to sleep one night and doesn't wake up? But we know that the place that we're going is a greater place. It's a better promise. And we will, with all believers, we will all be together again someday. And it's just an amazing thing that we have that ahead of us. We're not going to go into our discussion today. We'll put that off to next week. And I think a lot of it will be important, but I want to just play this one song.